Hello, everyone, and welcome to Show Me the Money in-game ad fraud. I am Rosemary Cipriano. I work at Human Security, the host of this webinar. We are a cybersecurity company that combats fraud, bots, and account abuse. We are here today to talk about in-game ad fraud and in-game ads in general. And I'm joined right now with Ben from Anzu and Kristine from Human. So Ben, could you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are. And we love to do this at Human where we ask people their favorite robots. So please go ahead and tell us your favorite robot.
So, hey everyone, my name is Ben Fenster. I'm the chief product and co-founder at Anzu. And my favorite robot is Wally. I really love this little guy, just the amazing robot.
Amazing. And Kristine, same for you. Please tell us who you are, your title, and favorite robot.
Thanks, Rosemary. Hello, everyone. I'm Kristine Lopez. I am a director of product management at Human Security. And my favorite robot, man, Wally's a good one. That's what I was going to say, too. But my second favorite robot is I have a cat. So my kitty litter robot has been life-changing.
That is a very popular one. People love the litter robot. Well, and just to keep it fair, my favorite robot is Karen from SpongeBob because I find her very funny. And I wish to have an eighth of her humor. So let's dive into why we're here. We're here to discuss in-game ad fraud, and mobile gaming ad revenue is set to hit more than $7 billion by 2024. That's a pretty crazy number. Gaming is an attractive space for advertisers and creatives alike. With the right balance, an ad can really have a huge impact. However, we know that the more premium the spot, the more premium the platform, the more expensive it is to advertise there. We see this with CTV advertising, connected TV, for those who don't know, and in-game ads are no exception. So let's start into it. Gaming isn't exactly new, but it seems like, at least to me, in the past couple of years, there's been more of an emphasis on advertising in-game. So Ben, why is advertising in-game so attractive to advertisers right now?
It's a great question. And I think the main change that happened is both the entrance of new non-intrusive ad formats that are part of the content and do not stop the content. This is one thing. The other is that AAA publishers for the first time decided to embrace this format. And so you get new exclusive content that never show ads before. This is just a complete new incremental reach for those advertisers. And then I guess the last point of it is the huge difference between static, lean back kind of content versus dynamic, lean in kind of content. And when you think about someone playing a game, it's like he's hooked to the game. There is no second screen. He's fully focused on what's going on. And it's the first time that viewability actually equals attention, and even more. Just as an example, we did in the last year a very vast research with a company named Lumen that uses eye tracking to track attention, and we found that intrinsic in-game ads that are in the game environment and part of it perform 2 to 3 times better on attention KPIs. So when you combine all the things together, you get a very, very attractive combination for brand advertisers, and why this is becoming such a huge interest for them, even by comparing the sheer time between the time you spend on TV and the eyeballs on TV compared to time spent and an amount of people in games. You see such a big gap that you understand that something, this should shift.
So Kristine, does in-game advertising work in a similar way to CTV advertising? Premium place to find premium eyeballs?
Yes, absolutely. So it's certainly a highly engaged user base, right, in a new environment. I think there are parallels around the user attention, right? But also parallels with, functional requirements, right? The need for low latency measurement, the server to server communication and that reliance, right? Limiting the ability to run third-party dynamic code. But I think we can look at how we've learned from the past in CTV. Over the last 10, 15 years, ad tech has undergone incredible transformations, right? Largely built display first. And we've had to adapt ad tech to CTV. And I really think that's given us a head start on how we adapt today's ad tech for intrinsic in-game advertising. My biggest takeaway, right, is that we have to address the need for telemetry to detect fraud, to enable measurement, the standards to foster transparency early on. We have to do this at the system design phase and not just as an afterthought.
So Ben, what are the opportunities like for advertisers and publishers alike? Is it just on mobile and web? Are we seeing advertising in console? What are the opportunities?
So I will frame it in this way. I see most of the opportunities sit in every platform that has games, native games, that have a major app store with a large team that validates both the content of the game and the app listing and runs various compliance checks, both automated and manual. And this is where I really see the huge opportunity here, because on PC, on consoles, on mobile, on VR, on future platforms, or even on Roblox, you have these components which on the one side allow advertisers to get amazing brand safety, being triple checked both by the App Store compliance team, both manually and automated, by government content rating like PEGI rating or ESRB rating, which are mandatory to be included in the major app stores, and then by the additional SSP, in this case Anzu, that will have its own compliance check as well. So you get these 3 levels of compliance, and also because we are talking about native app, when you update it, you must send the update for review, unlike web content when you just update whatever you want and it's live. This is why I believe that also Anzu is a decision decided to make our inventory focused on native apps and not web apps. So like we wanted to have this easy and trusted way of validating both the publisher, the game, the proof of ownership, user reviews, content rating, categories. Every update needs to be reviewed again. This is a combination for a great opportunity, both for the advertiser and of course for the publisher that gets a lot of distribution in the App Store and many other opportunities to monetize and get all the tools that he needs to make his game better and promote his game. So this is where I see really a win-win here. And this is why we decided at least to focus on this segment other than others. And the last piece is that because of this excitement and the growth that we are seeing, also new platforms are being opened, like consoles that are about to launch. We already ran tests. We are the only middleware provider for Xbox One, and we did several tests on Xbox, and now we're increasing it to next-gen consoles, which we see a lot of excitement, both from the publishers and that never show ads before in these platforms, from the platform owners, and from the advertisers, of course, that see this as a new incremental reach opportunity on highly exclusive and premium content.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, I feel like whenever I've seen advertising in a game, or, I mean, you mentioned Roblox, they do some interesting partnerships as well in the metaverse. It's really cool when they can get it right and it feels kind of seamless to everything else. So it's very interesting. And I think there's just so much opportunity, like you said. Unfortunately, you have to turn to the more sinister side of things, the ad fraud part. It's nothing new. We've been talking about ad fraud here at Human for well over 10 years. But as our methods for advertising have become more sophisticated, so have fraudsters' methods of attacking. So, Kristine, how does in-game ad fraud work? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, definitely. So fraud it's a moving and evolving landscape, right? So let me take a step back. To find fraud, we use thousands of little bits of innocuous information. We plop it into our machine learning models built by our data scientists in order to find weirdness, to find anomalies, to find things that just aren't typical human behavior. We call these little bits of information signal. With in-game advertising, there is a reliance on server-to-server communication because it makes that seamless user experience, which is so important. And because of the low latent requirements, there aren't a lot of ways to speak directly to the device or to the client, because any client-side impact can, hurt the end user, their game experience. So we have to be really cognizant of that. And the light just isn't very bright when collecting this signal to validate that real ad impressions have delivered to real humans. And fraudsters thrive in these shadows.
How does this differ from other forms of ad fraud we see, like on CTV or other video spots, or is it even different?
Totally. Yeah, fraudsters exploit uncertainty. I don't think that the mechanics, right, are particularly novel or unique for fraudsters here. Instead, where an ad is shown in a game is inherently complex. And I think that there's just a general lack of understanding about this inventory from marketing teams, from CMOs, but it's getting better, right? From folks like Anzu, educating the ecosystem on what it's like, how it is to, advertise in this environment. I think over the last year that has certainly improved, but where there's a mismatch in communication vehicles, that's an area ripe for exploitation from fraudsters.
Gotcha. Okay. So this webinar is called Show Me the Money because we want to know how fraudsters make money off these schemes. The roots of why they do anything, as we say at Human, is fraud follows the money. And I feel like the actual money-making scheme of it can sometimes get lost in the specifics of the conversation. So Kristine, can you explain where in the fraud journey fraudsters make money from in-game ad fraud?
Our adversaries are running operations that are running operations within ad tech are so smart and sophisticated. They are highly motivated. They are very well financed. And I think it's always important to remember that, right? Especially when you think in terms of their ROI. We need to add layers of friction in order to make that ROI not worth it, right? Make the cost of attack prohibitively expensive, either in cash money, in time, whatever it may be. Now, when does the fraud happen? Really, anywhere a bad actor can insert themselves into a layer of the supply chain. They can buy, create, take inventory and resell it. That's where there's the opportunity to relabel it, to enrich it, or to amplify that ad opportunity. They might relabel it to a fancy, more attractive app, or maybe make the device superior, right? Like the real estate in console is going to be inherently more valuable and demanding higher CPMs over a small mobile banner. Or the other is to turn one ad impression into 100,000 ad impressions. And these are all of the areas where they can make minor minor tweaks, minor modifications, and take advantage of the opacity of ad tech, and siphon ad spend from the publishers, from everyone in the middle as well. Like, this is where they take the money from.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think something that a lot of us can forget sometimes is that we're a whole company, many companies of people trying to fight off these threats. And the threats aren't just like one person. It is another company that's just a little fraudulent that is also coming at us with their resources and their time and their money. So thank you for bringing us down with that. Like, this is not just, us versus a couple people. This is us versus a lot of people. So we need to all kind of band together. And with that, I want to start talking about how we work with Anzu. So at Human, we use a modern defense strategy to take down bad actors. There's 3 pillars to this strategy. There's visibility, so everything that we can see, that light that Kristine was talking about. The network effect, so we're talking about connecting the dots between different operations and protecting our customers as one fleet of defense. And then the disruptions and takedowns, which is a lot of kind of what we're known for, is taking down these large-scale ad fraud operations. But what gets lost in that sometimes is the little disruptions that we do every day to protect people, the things that don't make news or whatever, the small things that we do to protect everyone's money every day. So Ben, I would love for you to talk about how Human's technology protects Anzu and your customers.
So basically, human machine learning models, on the one side, scan the entire bid request stream from Anzu and will filter out in real time on sub-millisecond latency bad or suspicious bid requests based on hundreds of parameters that are included in the bid request. And on the other side will also verify the approved traffic using a post-bid pixel added to the campaign, which will verify that the approved traffic also look as expected. And I think this is a great combination, and something that I think Human managed to do, which is very different than other providers that we work with. That there are like 3 key things that usually you'd find any other vendor maybe manage to get 2 of them right, but not the whole 3. So the one is just having like great technology, machine learning based and data science driven tech, which is always the best approach. Then it's taking clear-cut actions on stuff that you find, because you can rob a big tech company, then like what happens? Or you can rob a bank, but if you rob a bank, the police come. So I guess what's very unique here is that you don't give up, and when you find something, you act on it and act on it swiftly, and this is very important, and in many cases you manage to show that. And then the last piece is just making the entire tech ecosystem feel safe. And a great proof of that is that giant companies like let's say the Trade Desk, for example, decide to hop on and start intrinsic in-game advertising with the confidence of your measurement. So it's just an example of how this affects. And we're just glad that Human, in a very early stage, decide to allocate such significant resources and become an important pillar for making gaming as an advertising medium. For years, gaming had an opportunity to turn into a major advertising channel. But what it was really lacking is both standard for measurement on the one side, and on the other, the confidence that everything is measured and run properly. And I think Human did a great job in helping promote these 2 topics. And the results is that today we are able to sell billions of intrinsic in-game ads. So thank you for that. And I forgot the most important thing. In the end, humans are just a great team of humans, right? So that's definitely helpful.
Thank you so much, Ben. Kristine, did you want to jump in?
Yes. Oh my gosh, Ben, you're so right that like the uncertainty, I think previously has really like undermined the credibility of programmatic for in-game advertising. And I think one of my favorite projects over the last, I don't know how long we've been, 6 months, 12 months, however long we've been working on this for, is collaborating with Anzu on, inserting telemetry at the design phase, right? The way our product works today is lightning fast predictions before the bid occurs. We have juicy signal collection post-bid that then informs our machine learning models, right? Machine learning 101, the models are only as good as the data that goes into it. But that framework doesn't work in intrinsic in-game advertising. So we have been collaborating with Anzu on how we can front load signal collection before the bid with, a signal insight information from their SDK in order to make very strong predictions that inventory is what it claims to be, is free from fraud, and continually working to improve those algorithms. It's a true testament that like to root out fraud from the ecosystem, we must collaborate. We have to have collective protection because when there are fewer targets available for an attack, that attack becomes less lucrative to the bad guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kristine. Something you said, Ben, never give up. I don't know why it made me think of Galaxy Quest, the movie, if you know that one, but never give up, never surrender. That's kind of what we're doing here a little bit, just with way less prosthetic alien noses and whatnot. Well, thank you guys so much. Didn't realize I was going to go there this webinar. Before we open up to questions, I want to make sure that advertisers and publishers can walk away with something that they can tangibly do to protect themselves from attacks like this. So this is a question for either of you. Just jump in if you have something. But what advice do you have for the programmatic advertising ecosystem?
Do you want to start or shall I?
I'll go first.
Go for it.
Yeah. First of all, knowledge is power, right? Continually arm yourselves with knowledge, ask questions. Small ones are fine. Build those muscles. But I think most importantly, ask questions of your partners and your vendors about their practices and their responsibility code to safeguard your digital investments.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So I'm going to see if we have any questions here. Let's take a look. How is the gamer audience different from previous emerging or new channels? And does the gamer audience influence fraud tactics?
I can tell you from my perspective that in the end, we reach a stage that 1 out of 3 person on the planet is a gamer. So there are no really gamers. Like everyone is playing something, whether it's Wordle or Call of Duty and everything that's in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess the main thing is that how you engage with those users and whether you are either disruptive or actually contributing to the experience, or what's the experience that the user actually go through. Because you can catch them while they're playing or while they are watching Netflix. I'm just giving an example, but in the end, the main difference is where you catch them. Because it's so vast, it's really everyone. And in terms of the tech vectors, I think it's more around the platform and whether it's the way the traffic is being sold, whether it's like direct, programmatic, is it a private deal, is it an open exchange kind of thing. And I think that as you know, let's take an example, console, like premium content, premium publishers that are well less likely to do any kind of fraud because they are like tens of billions of dollars companies on the one side that invested like hundreds of millions in this IP they created. Then you have the platforms that QA everything that's going on. So it's harder for me. And of course, this is going to be sold for tier one advertisers with direct deals. So this is an example of something that it's very hard to imagine how it's going to be attacked at scale, at least. But when you look at mobile and the open exchange and millions of advertisers and ad exchanges, this is where things get like far more complicated. Also, when you have like millions of games literally being published, this is where things get trickier. Like the entire PlayStation collection is like 4,000 games, and the entire Android store game catalog is like million. Like it has like maybe 5,000 a day being published. So this is kind of how I see it. It's more around the platform, the app stores, the how it's being sold, what's the chain of sale. So this is the kind of key factors to think about, rather than the actual audience or the type of game or gamer.
Gotcha. This kind of goes into the next question we have here, but are there certain platforms that are more oh my God. Are there more platforms that are susceptible to in-game ad fraud than others?
Oh, good question. Where CPMs are high, where demand is high, and then where there's some level of obfuscation from fraud companies to root out fraud, those environments, those device types tend to be more susceptible to fraud. What can we do in the future? A device attestation is important, especially as you get to premium consoles, right? Passing something like that along through the bid stream would really increase trust. And this is a conversation I think we have a lot internally at Human, is the privacy versus security conundrum, and how can we make sure that there is enough signal available, enough device level telemetry in order to find and filter out fraud and abuse.
Gotcha. We have another question here about in-game ad performance. So what are your thoughts around in-game advertising performance? It seems that it's not as easy to measure as other digital media, which is another roadblock for the buy side and convincing budget owners to shift some money to this medium.
So basically, it really depends because some people find it hard, but there are a couple of things that recently happened that actually makes it much more easier to measure like media value for in-game ads. So, for example, the entire industry shifted to view-through attribution as a default compared to just click-based. So today, when you have such low CTRs for standard 2D banners, 320 on 50, actually most of the people will only see the ad rather than click on it. So a lot of the conversions will actually come from the people who just view the ad, not the people that clicked on it. So this is one thing. So, and then the other is with the rise of data clean rooms, it now becomes so easier to compare the campaign level signals on impression, viewable impression, and different levels of exposure to the ad to actionable things happening after. Maybe it would be Foursquare data telling me how many of the people that were highly exposed to the ad went into a shop for the first time, or even bought something on the one side, and then on the other, how did a group that didn't see the ad indexed against that? Brand lift studies, attention measurement partners like the one that I mentioned. Of course, viewability, which was already solved both with the new standard and with us even managing to find companies that work with us, MRC audited, accredited companies that can measure the viewability with us. And when you think in all the steps from viewability, attention, and then what's happening after the campaign, whether it's brand lift studies or actual attribution of things happening, engagement in digital assets, purchase intent, visits to actual locations. So these are things that together with data clean rooms and data science, you can actually measure really, really nicely how you get a lot of value for your money on the one side, and also on the other, how you manage to increase your reach to new users that you couldn't reach before, because we are talking about devices that never show ads before. And these are two great opportunities to prove media value to brand advertisers.
Gotcha. Yeah, this feels like kind of like the age-old conundrum of advertising. Like, can you see it? Did they do anything from it? Did they just see it and then they did something about it later on? Like, it's just the age-old thing, and it's platform agnostic. I feel like it's not really just game or anything. It's really everywhere. This is how ads work online. Well, thank you so much. I don't think we can make it to any more questions, but we will follow up with answers to your questions after the webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us. I really hope you learned something today. I definitely did. Be sure to check out all of our resources linked below, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.